Hey, Van here. Just wanted to give you a quick update on our club finances. That way we don't have to worry about it during the meeting. So, starting with our balance sheet, we currently have $64,738. The majority of that money's in our Piedmont bank account. We do have some petty cash that'll get deposited after the swim season's over, and most of the money that's in PayPal has been moved to Piedmont. You can ignore this minus 950, that's rental deposits. I need to do a little auditing to check and make sure that we have not coded some things wrong. I believe that number should be a little bit lower, but you'll always see a negative number here because that's where we code whenever someone makes a deposit, and then once it gets refunded, it codes back out. If we have no rentals on the books, this number will be zero. So that's the total of what we have on hand. Obviously, our building and down here, our construction loan is down to $712,000. So if we switch from that to our actual P&L, I'm going to try to do this directly from QuickBooks to make it a little easier. We'll start out with income. Cookouts have done fabulously. It's beat our $2,500 budget, which is shocking to me because I didn't think a lot of the cookouts were well attended. But holidays are going to be cookouts that occur on a holiday. Right now, we've got 4th of July in that number and Memorial Day, and that number should go up when we have our final holiday cookout for Labor Day. Miscellaneous events are any other type of non-cookout event that we brought money in for, such as keg parties or any other type of parties that money was given for. Halloween will go in that. So lastly, on rentals, we've done very well during the swim season. We beat our $750 budget. We still have some off-season time, so hopefully we'll get enough rentals after September to get to our $3,000 budget. Moving down, I don't know what to make of the guest fees because we've in the past done very well with guest fees. This year, not so much. Haven't checked the box in a couple of weeks, so there will be some more money going to that, but I'm not sure that we'll get to $1,970 this year. So something to talk about in the off season as to how we deal with guest fees, and hopefully if we implement a new system at the front gate, that might change how much we're collecting. The next couple of income numbers you've seen, they haven't really changed in the last few months. Initiation fees, membership dues, those are pretty much the same. When we jump down to sponsorship, I want to point out that now that school's back in, we should probably send out a communication about the legacy bricks. There are plenty of bricks that are blank that we could sell, and we had put a $500 budget, so maybe communications can draft something up and send it out. Allison did a great job with the swim team, and hopefully we'll get some more swim team sponsors when they talk to you about the record board and possibly selling a sponsor for that. When we get to the swim team, they've done an excellent job. They blew their budget out of the water. There are some expenses that I've sent to them asking questions because I didn't know what category to put them in as far as income. And when you look at the registration, we had originally been given a budget that broke it between first swimmer, second swimmer, or additional swimmer. Unfortunately, the way the money comes to me, I cannot see any of that because they're using their own system, which I'm not a big fan of. I still believe we need to incorporate everything into one system, but that's a different conversation. But with that being said, if you add up the two budget items, the $10,000 and $2,700, we still did much better than what we had. We'll see what happens with fall registration, how many kids they get. Obviously, concessions, they blew it out of the water mainly because they had 3 swim meets instead of 2. I will be keeping $2,000 as a budget every year since some years they only have 2 swim meets. I don't want to try to, play with that too much. I'd rather be over budget. And then finally, when it comes to tennis, they've almost hit their Alta fee number. I believe that they probably will, since there's still one more season this year that they should collect money for. A big kudos to Ari for putting on the tennis camp. We had no budget for that, obviously, and we were hoping it to be just a net. But we did receive, after we collected a lot more money than this, and I just subtracted the expense to the to the tennis coach from the income, and this is what we were left. I believe maybe that number doesn't include the lifeguards. I'll double check that, so it might be a little bit less than that we actually made from that endeavor, but it was still a positive scenario. At the end of the day, when we get to total income, we've already hit our $211,000 budget, and obviously we still have many months left to try to bring in some more money, so that's a really good thing. But on the expense side, we've had some problems, some expense items that are way over budget. Going through those, starting out with the pool management, that's pretty much right in line. We know what the contract is, and that's even with adding a few guards. There might be some final expenses in this number as Sears sends me any final bills, but it'll be pretty close. There's 2 line items that I want to point out. Equipment and maintenance, which was a general catch-all for whenever we bought stuff. Like, for example, if we recently bought some new water hoses that we needed, that's where equipment and maintenance would come in. Some of the items in this, when we dig deep, let's just open that one up. Oops, sorry. If we open that up, we could go through and look at some of these things and say, where did they come from? Are they in the right spot? I'll go over those with Megan and anyone else that spent money, but it's got to go somewhere, and right now that's where it is. When you look at that, and the other item that is a concern is when we scroll down to unexpected repairs in operations. We had only budgeted $1,000. We have spent $5,400 on unexpected. The big item there was the diving board. Didn't know where else to put it because we did not plan on replacing the diving board when we did the budget. It was probably the fault of last year's board not looking at that, but it had to go somewhere. So those are way over budget, and we need to figure out, what to do. Concession stand food, we spent a lot more money. We had a hiccup, as you know, on the 4th of July. We lost probably over $500 worth of food, maybe even more than that. We're way over budget on that. Also, remember, we had 3 swim meets, and so this number includes not only food for the regular Friday cookouts, but also food for the swim team. It was impossible in the past for you new board members for us to separate that out, so we just lump it all into one. Let's see, what other, here's one I wanted to point out, insurance. I have no idea why the insurance company charged us less. Maybe Dave can go look through the policy and make sure that we don't need to buy more coverage or something, but there was some confusion. The underwriter kept coming to us asking us about the HOA, which it took me a while to explain to them that there is no HOA. I think they were trying to pigeonhole us into a category that they thought we were, that we're not, and that could be why the cost went down, because they always thought we were something else than we are. Phase 2 development, we spent right at what we were supposed to. Just in case you don't remember what that came from, that was mainly the two big checks, 6,800 and 6,800 were for the lights, so that's done. And then we spent a fair amount of money, small items, on the kids' room, and this $1,000 was the baby pool cabana. So I'd like to, and we can discuss this, November. I'd like to buy a couple of those cabanas to replace the aging cabanas we have inside the pool deck. What else? Tennis expense, that was the redoing of the tennis courts, came in budget. We did have a budgetary item that we had not planned for, removing those dead trees. So that caused some extra expense we weren't expecting. The lawn care, I've been very disappointed with the lawn company. I'd really like to replace them, and I've asked the company that just sprayed for the kudzu in the back. I've asked them to give us a quote. Just so you know, one of the reasons we selected the current lawn care that's not been doing a great job was because they were in Chamblee, and we had all said, a previous board had said we wanted to keep it local. They recently sent an email saying they've moved to Waycross, so I'm not sure why we should still be using them if they're not local. Finally, what else? When you come down to the bottom line, don't get seduced by these numbers down here. They're not accurate. There's some items missing. For example, when I code our loan payments, part of that is in interest and part is in for the reduction of the loan. So it's gonna look a little wonky down at the bottom. So that's our recap of our P&L and our budget sheet. If you have any questions, let me know offline, but I plan at the meeting to just tell Megan to skip this section. So thanks a lot.